I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share with you the Rural Energy for America Grant Program, commonly referred to as REAP. My name is Laurette Tucker, and I am a Rural Business Cooperative Program Specialist for USDA Rural Development. I'm located in the Farmville, Virginia office. The REAP program originated with the 2002 Farm Bill, and it has been funded since then. Now, the purpose of this program is to help farmers and ranchers or rural small businesses to reduce energy costs and consumption. Now, in this program, it can be accomplished through a renewable energy system or energy efficiency improvement project. Some examples of energy efficiency would basically include making something more efficient. So we're talking about something as simple as replacing lighting, windows, putting in insulation, removing old and inefficient motors and putting in new motors, just to name a few. Also, renewable energy systems. We're talking about systems that actually will create and generate energy. So some commonly utilized systems include solar systems, wind, geothermal. We can even do small hydro projects and, of course, biomass. Now, this year, the program had 2 application deadlines, and I want to let everyone know we can accept applications anytime throughout the year. It's just that we have 2 cycles in which we process. The next application deadline will be May 2nd, 2016. So there are thousands and thousands of producers, small businesses that serve rural America. So the bottom line approach to this program and its purpose is to provide a way that these businesses can contribute to the nationwide goal of reducing our dependency on foreign energy sources and providing a means of energy reduction or conservation. Some of the eligible applicants in this program include agricultural producers. By definition for our program, you are considered an agricultural producer if you receive 51% or more of your income from agricultural production. Agricultural production would include crop production, livestock production, forestry operations, aquaculture, dairies, or nursery. Other eligible entity is a rural small business. A rural small business basically has to meet 2 definitions. You have to first be located in a rural area. For our program, a rural area is basically anywhere, but if you are located in a town or a city, and that town or city has more than 50,000 people, you're no longer considered rural. The second piece of that definition is small. All of the businesses that we work with must be small. How we determine a small business, we utilize SBA's definition of small. Depending on the type of business, it could either be defined as small by the number of employees that it has or their gross receipts. An agricultural producer can be located anywhere in the state. A business must be small and it must be located in a rural area of the state. Now, eligible project costs. This program is equipped to provide for those costs of purchasing and installing the equipment. Now, under eligible project costs, the purchase, installation, as I just mentioned, of the equipment, and that equipment must be new, refurbished, or manufactured. It cannot be used equipment. Another important aspect of this program is we cannot fund a project that has already begun or that is already completed. So we make sure we say post-application construction and improvement. So we have to have an application in our office, and preferably it should also be determined complete and eligible before you actually start any of the work. If there are any professional service fees, permits, license fees, they can be included in your total project cost. As we will talk a little bit later, working capital is only eligible if you are pursuing a guaranteed loan in this program. One very, very important item, residential projects are not eligible in our program, nor are nonprofit entities eligible to apply. A few years ago, when we entertained a project where, say, the business and the farm were on the same meter with the residents, we could not entertain that at all. Last year, they made some changes to our regulations. So now if a business or an ag producer applies and their residence is on the same meter, we do have some provisions now that would allow us to entertain a project. Still, we're looking for that eligible piece, the ag producer or the rural small business, to be utilizing the majority of the energy that's going through that meter. But we can look at those projects now where in the past we couldn't. Anyone who needs assistance with getting their grant application prepared, unfortunately that cost cannot be included. Any type of pre-application, construction, and facility improvements, as I covered earlier, cannot be included. Any repairs or operating costs would not be able to be included, and nor would any payment to the business owner, a beneficiary, or relative be included. Now, the Rural Energy for America program has two ways of receiving, or the applicant has two ways of receiving assistance from us. First, in the form of a grant. That grant can pay up to 25% of the eligible project cost. When you're looking at a renewable energy system, the systems that will generate energy, we're looking at a minimum of $2,500 as a request, which means your total project cost would be at least $10,000 plus, and the maximum grant is $500,000. On the energy efficiency side, where you're making those improvements to your operation, a minimum grant request is $1,500, which means you should have total eligible project cost of at least $6,000 plus, and the maximum grant request $250,000. So you're looking at $1 million plus project. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, because we receive a lot of questions, and that is in relation to the federal tax credit. The federal tax credit is compatible with REAP, but let me explain how it works. For example, if you are applying to us for a grant to pay up to 25% of your total project cost, that means that the 75% must come from the applicant. That 75% can be basically in any form. Primarily we see just cash, but it cannot be, that 75% cannot be from another federal grant. How the tax credit comes in, and the tax credit is not administered by USDA. Applicants are more than welcome to apply for that tax credit. That tax credit actually doesn't come into play until after your project is complete. So it would not be an eligible source of match for your grant. When the application comes into us, the matching funds should be identified. So the tax credit, while it cannot be used as an eligible source of match, you can certainly, and we encourage you to apply for that. I don't have any other information on that, but if you need me to research and get you information, I will be more than happy to do so. The other funding mechanism in the Rural Energy for America program is guaranteed loans. A guaranteed loan is not a direct loan from us. It is actually the applicant proposing their project and idea to a bank, to your lender. And that lender, if interested, can pursue the USDA guarantee. In a nutshell, what a guarantee does is it cuts the risk for the lender. A lot of our small and local community banks may not be familiar with solar projects or wind turbines. So while the project cash flows, it looks great on paper, all of the requirements are in place, they just may feel a little uncomfortable because it's out of their territory. So then they can come to USDA and provide us an application, and then we can review that for a guarantee. We normally see guaranteed loans on our much larger projects. If this is an option that you pursue, just be reminded that 75% of the total project cost can be guaranteed by our agency, which means the applicant will still have to come up with the 25%. And the way the regulation is written, an applicant can apply for a grant and a guaranteed loan together, which we call a combo. If that is an option, the amount of the loan will reduce. So then you're looking at 50% of the eligible project cost being financed through the guaranteed loan, 25% through the grant, 25% from the applicant. So the applicant is still coming out of pocket with at least 25%. Now, this program, the REAP program, it is a competitive program. So what that means is we get our applications in, we review them for completeness, we review them for eligibility, and then each application is assigned a score. The requirements of scoring, it's not a mystery. Actually, we provide potential applicants with the scoring criteria just to let them know how we score and for them to actually self-score their project to see where they would fall. We do receive an annual allocation, and this amount varies depending on how much we have at the national level. So the application receives a score, and then we fund based on the high scoring project to the lowest scoring project until our funds have been exhausted. And then we normally have an opportunity to request funds from the national office reserve. The next few slides, you will see some of the projects that we have funded. When we first were given the opportunity to administer this program, energy efficiency was our primary focus. We felt like ag producers needing to upgrade tobacco barns, poultry houses, or small businesses just making some improvements was Virginia's target market. And we were able to get, I think, help several producers, small businesses throughout the state. But here recently, in the last couple of years, we've seen a huge increase in solar projects. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, last year, I believe we were able to fund about 19 projects on the renewable energy side, and of those, 18 were solar. So we are seeing a big increase in solar projects. and we actually funded total with the energy efficiency thrown in 25 projects. So out of Virginia's allocation, fiscal year 15, we had 25 projects. 22 were solar. So you can see the increase in that. And it's not just the businesses applying for solar. We have seen several ag producers applying. So this first picture, Frangelu Farms, they installed a 40 kW ground-mounted solar system in Mount Crawford, Virginia. And by its name, this is an ag producer. Shepherd's Corner Farm in Purcellville, Virginia, they installed a roof-mounted 12.4 kW system, solar system. Mika Chalet, located in Harrisonburg, Virginia, this is actually a business, and they have in this building multi-use there, several businesses located there, and they put in a 20 kilowatt roof-mounted solar system. We cannot forget our energy efficiency folks. Glebe Farm, located in Brandy Station, Virginia, they actually replaced an old and inefficient grain dryer with a more modern and newer system. And I forgot to say that when applicants apply to us for energy efficiency projects only, they must have an energy audit. That energy audit will detail the specifics of the project, such as the amount of savings that applicant will incur and the return on investment, which are items that we do use in our scoring process. So that's an important tidbit that I left out. In Mount Sloan, Virginia, up in the valley, and this project was done several years ago. Mr. Horning had some poultry houses, and one in particular, and the poultry house was so inefficient, and because our regulations allow this, he was able to not only make energy efficiency improvements to his house, he was actually able to use our grant money to go toward replacing his poultry house. Now, that doesn't happen often on the energy efficiency side, actually building a new structure, but in the instance where it's more financially feasible to replace a structure as opposed to trying to make it efficient by improving it, the regulations would allow that. However, it would have to be the very exact same size that the initial building was. So the program doesn't fund expansion projects. So that kind of wraps up my presentation on the Rural Energy for America program. You can contact me anytime here in the Farmville office. This is my contact information, or by email, and I will be more than happy to answer any question that you may have, or even come out to your facility or to your farm. So I'd just like to thank you for this time and opportunity, and please feel free to ask any questions. I want to make this as clear as possible and not clear as mud. Thank you.